The exercise was, hey, I know I was telling the truth, and somebody told me I wasn't because my truth made them uncomfortable. So I'm going to tell that story, and then I'm going to rewrite that story. Okay, in the book, Getting the Love You Want, it's by a shrink. His name will come to me in a moment. He does this imago exercise where people identify what it is that um, their partner or someone that they're in a relationship with, what it is that they do that drives them crazy. And then they have to talk about the first time that same behavior occurred to them. Okay. So your partner may not text you when they're going to be late. And that may make you insane. Is it making you insane because they're not texting you? Or is it making you insane because you have one critical life event in which somebody you needed to be there for you wasn't and didn't say, I'm going to be late? And in that exercise, you have to talk about what the event was. And then you have to rewrite it so that you have agency. Yes, Harville Hendrix. Thank you. Um, and I use that exercise. He does it in couples counseling, but I use it for writing, um, especially first person story, which you then tell from different, in order to turn first person into multi character, you tell the same story from different people's point of views. That's the Rashomon technique. I teach that in my classes, as well as this imago. This imago exercise is really kind of amazing because it's not just this is what happened, it's an examination of the first time you learned essential lessons that make you who you are. And writing them down is incredibly powerful because it shows you that you have the power to change them. So I would go back, write the scene. What would you have said? How you can make it as over the top as you want to. No filters. I love when people have done this exercise in the past and they had a problem with their parents and their parents were like, you never do this. And they were like, I know I did this. And they go back and they write this entire scene in which they are cussing their mama out. And I was like, well, nobody will ever see this. Nobody will. But it's the stuff of great drama because it's personal, it's high stakes, and it comes from this journaling process. If you use journaling to really critically analyze your behavior and your deeper motivations, which is what this has been about for these last 3 days. This is the starting point for everyone. Oh, my screen is freezing. Maybe we need to turn everybody's videos off. Is my screen freezing?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Tony, move someplace in the room. Um, so, okay. Thank you, Anthony. So that that scene is what I would like to see from each of you if you take the next Saturday class that I teach. Because it's important, and once I have the scene, we can then talk about structure. So my writing style is not to let's go write a screenplay. All of my classes start with journaling. And then each class is trying to get at something different, right? So journaling to change your life would be like the Imago exercise that we did, where we identify certain core life lessons that you've learned that have shaped who you are. And you learn to question them and question those assumptions and rewrite them if necessary. All right. And that class sort of culminates in you make your own TED Talk. Because really, your TED Talk is your brand. This is what I believe. This is what I've learned in this life, right? For the solo show class, if you came in and you had this as the exercise, this, when was the first time somebody called you a liar? I would then have you write that scene from each character who shows up in the scene, write the same scene from their point of view. And that's the Rashomon technique. And you can decide in that moment, you then become each character telling the same story. You can decide to make that a scene or separate monologues. It's powerful stuff. And that Rashomon technique works for both solo shows and normal multi-character plays. And the reason I start with journaling is because a lot of times people come to me and they're like, oh, I really want to write a screenplay, and I really saw that movie you produced at Sundance, and it was really thoughtful. And I was like, okay. And then they get in the class and they're not writing in the language of a screenplay. They aren't writing visually for the camera. That doesn't make the stories less valid. It means that you have to allow the landscape of your storytelling to appear. And it only appears when you write a lot, hence the journaling, right? In the last year, I've had several clients. 2 clients are working on their memoirs, their books with me. Another 2 are working on short films. They came to me going, I'm going to write a play. And another one is a series regular, and they're like, I'm going to write a TV show. But the way that story began to develop as they went through these exercises is that the medium that fits your story will arise as long as you're telling the story. Right? And if a single story itself feels visual, that you've seen plays, well, then you go in and you adapt it for the screen. Right? At least 2 of the films that I've produced, Night Catches Us, and why am I drawing a blank? Blue Caprice, were generative ideas initially. They weren't scripts initially, right? But the pitch was really interesting. And so then we started asking questions about what the story was, right? So when I was producing film in New York and doing that grind, I learned a lot about story. And that there are people who are great storytellers, but not great writers, and it doesn't matter, right? Who I read in my spare time are great storytellers, not necessarily great writers. My great writers, I'm not reading them in my leisure time. I'm reading them for answers for Sola. Jhumpa Lahiri is a fantastic writer, right? Naguib Mahfouz is a fantastic, writer that of the human condition, not just what's happening today, right? But I'm not trying to read Madak Ali, people in 7 generations and a 3rd girl having an honor killing and then the daddy got shot. I'm not trying to have that, right? I love why am I'm drawing a blank now. The God of Small Things. But listen. The God of Small Things is human beings suck. It's starvation and pain and abject poverty. I want to read that. I want to understand structure. I want to understand a great writer explaining the ebbs and flows of life over a long period of time. That's where I learned structure. From writers who aren't great writers but great storytellers, I learned about great storytelling, and I learned about script analysis, that some basics of script analysis. When you're writing a scene, a memoir, a screenplay, a novel, you need to stick to the present event in that scene talking about characters who are not in that scene is a recipe for us forgetting who the fuck that is. Right? I was watching the Umbrella Academy recently, and we're supposed to feel all these things for one of the sisters who keeps talking about she lost her child. We don't meet the child until 5 hours into the series, so we don't care. They're not real to us. Or we meet them once or twice. Right? If you're talking about somebody who's not in the scene, then that's exposition. If you're talking about events that are not happening in real time, that's exposition. And when you analyze scripts this way, it makes you a better writer. So when I watch television, I'm analyzing them because I analyzed movies, right? When you make a film as a producer, you're watching all of those rough cuts, right? So I was on set every day, and then at the end of the day, I would watch a dailies to make sure the story was making sense. And then a rough cut was put together, and then I gave notes. And I was like, this is not clear, that's not clear. Go back and shoot this from her perspective. Let me see his perspective. It really taught me a lot about, in writing, we write in a passive voice so much. That's why I so focus on journaling, because journaling is where you need to vomit up all of the action, exposition, and the feelings, right? But then when you create a structure, then you need story with strong beginning, middle, and end. You need an antagonist who wants something that is in direct conflict with your protagonist, right? If you're going to write these imago scenes, there's a hero and there's a villain. Maybe not an absolute villain, but when you are writing this story and the protagonist's story, it's actually only their point of view that matters, and it heightens the conflict, right? So I've been getting questions for a long time. Are you going to teach structure? Teach structure? Okay, yeah, I'll teach structure in script analysis class. And the Dreaming Out Loud technique has the TED Talk. I'm trying to remember if there's something else. What is I doing? So, and what we've been working on here is journaling to change your life, right? Which is learning how to create keystone habits that are in line with your goals. So what have you found that has been coming up in your journaling in the last 3 days? What's a recurring theme?
Getting it done every day, just working on it every day. And that it's not enough to just think about it every day, because I think about it every day in between doing stuff and making music and whatever, taking care of kids. I think about it and I'm like, I really need to do this. And so just carving out that time every day and showing up for myself every day. And it, when I look at these pages that I've written, that's what it is.
So when you were given 3 days, so if I was going to suggest a class for you, it would be the journaling, the journaling
Right.
to
Right.
get unstuck.
Yes.
Because the
Yes.
larger issue here is why you spent 3 days writing over and over again that you don't have time.
Yeah.
You actually had the time
Yeah.
to actually write whatever you wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So time isn't the enemy. There's a limiting belief there
Right.
that needs
Right.
to be sussed out,
Right.
right?
Right.
Tony, the last time you took a class from me was the emotional quartz class. I coached you through that monologue about a character who was a West Indian man. It was really, really lovely. It was lovely. You have a lot of amazing stories. And that's why when you write, past family comes up constantly, because your storyteller's voice is to remember the uniqueness of the people who made you. That's your voice, right? That's where your writing sings. Why haven't you finished that? Because that was like 2 years ago you took that class with me. Mm.
Oh, why haven't I finished that? Moved across country, life,
And what's different right now?
nothing, still life.
When was the last time you wrote before this class?
Ooh, well, I've been doing this thing where, well, it's
I'm
one
putting
of the things I
words in
started
your
writing.
mouth. I'm putting
Okay,
words in your mouth.
well, I've been doing this kind of intermittent scribbling down of things that pop in my head. Um, I'll tell on myself and be it's like, why does the good stuff come up when you high?
Because you're not worried about getting it right.
Ah, okay, because
So squeeze those droplets under your tongue and turn on the recorder.
mhm.
That's the class I would put you in to generate about 500 pages of raw recording of characters. That you could do in a 12-week class. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's where I would go with you. Other folks, I have a class called How to Turn Journaling into Story, and that's about structure as well. Straight structure though, for the writer, not script analysis for writers and actors. So I want you to take a look at what the recurring themes are. And we're going to write for a bit here. What the recurring themes are. And just send me a chat. You can send it to me privately. What kept coming up for you? That's the first question. So pick up your pens and start writing. What kept coming up for you in the morning pages these past 3 days? Because everyone tells me, I have this story, I have this story. I have this solo show, I haven't finished it. Oh, I'm gonna have a memoir, I haven't finished it. Oh, I'm in the middle of a script, I haven't finished it. I got 2 screenplays at this festival, I haven't finished them. And I'm like, if you could do it on your own, you wouldn't be here. So let's sort out the source of why haven't you finished it. Remember I told you that when I was in New York, I always had 4 or 5 jobs, right? I taught at a New York studio. At one point, I was in a play on Broadway and producing 2 other plays on Broadway and preparing a rough cut of a film I had shot right before the play on Broadway, uh, trying to start it so that I can make the Sundance deadline. And then I went and I did the Sundance deadline. And then I came back to the show on Broadway. It was bananas. I was incredibly productive because I set deadlines. I applied for every workshop, every deadline driven thing in my life that I could. I applied for grants for the film I was going to make the following year. I was incredibly productive. Life did not get in the way. Now, if I can do 8 shows a week, plus produce 2 other Broadway shows, which means going to marketing meetings every week with 150 other producers and yelling and screaming, and doing the nightly reports to make sure our numbers are doing this, and maybe we need to make an advertising decision. It's a beast, right? To editing a film. I was doing that all at the same time, plus auditioning during days. And then my coaching clients came to the theater to meet with me. I'm not trying to hear it. If you want to do it, you do it. But I also applied for everything, like everything, all the grants, Creative Capital, all that. Creative Capital's like 75 pages. It's just it's the Guggenheim is another 150 pages. Just write your memoir. So if you could do it, you'd be doing it. Right. Why aren't you doing it? And then answer, if you had all the time in the world, all the money in the world, all the resources you need, and there was no racism, there was no sexism, there was no homophobia, who would you be? What would your life look like? If you weren't black, if you weren't Latino, Latinx, Latina, la 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 la, African, Creole, a woman, who would you be and what would your life look like? And if you're having trouble imagining that, like a day in the life, there's some limiting beliefs that you have going on there. So write what that day would look like. Thank you, Iris. So if you had all of the worth that you need, what would a day look like, Iris? Right. Now, after we get off this call, I want you to continue this story. But for a moment, I want you to pause and tell me what's stopping you from having that life.
Hmm.
I have aspects of that life.
What's stopping you from having everything that you wrote down?
I'm not married.
Okay.
And the dance classes that I would want to take are not being given. And the auditions are coming slowly.
Okay, so now I'm going to challenge you. When you think about the life that you want to have, I'm going to argue that the only thing stopping you is you.
I'm sorry, I live by the overhead train and it's going by right now. I
Oh,
missed
okay.
what you said.
So what I'm going to argue that whatever this thing is that's getting in the way of you having this life that you've outlined for yourself is something you've created. It's artificial. And the reason I say that is because when you have done everything within your power to have the life that you want, you'll have it. And if you don't, it's time to question some of those core values about whether you really want the other things. Because, and that's something to write about, right? That's how to get unstuck, is to unpack the ideas that you don't have these things because something is wrong. It's racism, it's capitalism. No, you don't need to have money to be in a dance class. Google flamenco from Aragonia, and 4 classes will come up. Google Afro-Cuban rumba. There's a dude in Cuba. He has great classes, him and this blonde chick. You can take the classes all day long. Your arms will be killing you, right? You can transcribe scenes from movies. There's a great scene in Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton when they're walking on the beach. And he's like, yeah, you run away from love. It's a great scene. You never expect anything like that coming out of Jack Nicholson's mouth. And I had Tina Fabrique transcribe it and do it for an agent. She's like, I never would have thought to do that. I was like, yeah, well, you're acting right now. It's a great scene about how we have these rules for how our life is supposed to look, and then we get in the way of it. And he's like, well, if you're not with anybody, it's because you don't want to be with anybody. It's not because there's something wrong with you. She's like, I'm too busy and my life is doing this. And I was like, have you done everything within your power to have that life? Right? When I moved away from New York and stopped going to auditions, I was like, if you send me something that's interesting and I'll put myself on tape, okay, great. If not, I don't want to be bothered. I'm not a movie star because most of the shit that's out there, I wouldn't want to do. I would have political problems with it. I was like, why is the white black woman demonized in the script? Well, I know this about myself, right? I coach clients who are my peers who are on TV shows, and they're like, I'm having a problem with this. And then I channeled you in my mind. I'd be like, yeah, they making the black woman angry and one-dimensional, and then the white guy gets to be the hero. Problematic with this writing. Like, that's why my black ass is not on the show. I realized that, one, I didn't want to be trapped in going to the set for 15 hours a day, 5 days a week. I wanted the freedom to get up late, pick up a ticket, and go to Spain for lunch and to see some flamenco and go to the new Dali exhibit when I wanted to. I realized freedom was more important to me. I was like, I want to be married. I want to be married. Well, I wrote in my journals for years, put it in my dream jar. I did all this business. I did eHarmony. I did all the sites. I did therapy. I did all the things that I wanted to do or felt like I needed to do to have a partner. And then when I got one, I was like, you want me to stay here all the time and not travel? I'm going to Cuba this summer. I can't help you. And I realized you're not married because you don't really want this. You like to say you do. So I live out fully in my journal what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, and then itemize what can I do to get me closer to this right now. So, Alvaro, it's not money or capitalism. You could do whatever you want to do without money right now. Applying for grants, applying for residencies, Costs no money. Turn off Netflix for the month, walk everywhere, and then you use that money. Listen. I went to see a Broadway show. I bought the $180 ticket. I just didn't eat nowhere or take no train for 3 weeks. And I saw the show, which I eventually got an audition for because that's what I wanted. But I had to write that down. I had to write down all the reasons something was not happening for me and then move those reasons out of the way and do something each day. And my journaling helped me do that. It helped me set a goal that was measurable and within my control. It was a small thing that I could do. It kept me focused on the habit of reaching for this thing and doing everything within my power. You make a list of everything that's within your power. When you're feeling powerless, you figure out how to start getting the things that you need. If you're not writing, it has nothing to do with life. It means that there's a problem with disciplining yourself to choose yourself first. Instead, you're on social media or you on group family text calls or the Sunday family call every week with everybody's drama. They don't need to see you every week. They don't. But that's your way to not show up for you and assuage some guilt for, not being constantly enmeshed with your family. Right? So if you know you have that guilt, what do? You buy a class with April. You take April's free classes. Angela Lewis took my free classes for a couple of years. But then when she got to that class, listen, that girl was writing 25 pages a week. I have these questions and I have a thesis. But she did the work. I mean, she did the free classes and she would send me pages and pages and pages of work. She needed that accountability. And at the time, she was a theater actor in New York. She didn't have money. That's not the point. If you need a structure to get you where you want to be, get the structure. You're depressed? Get a therapist. Got high blood pressure? Go out and walk in the park with your laptop once a day. Don't eat processed foods. There are things you can do every day. Capitalism. Get you some temporary food stamps during COVID and eat healthy so you don't get more depressed. Next. There are all kinds of emergency things going on during COVID. There still are grants and things for people who are recovering from the hit that they took. If I had not had long-term clients, COVID would have killed me. But I had people in 2-year packages, so it worked out. But it still got a little shaky towards the end. If I had been in the United States, it would have been a real problem. But I was in Africa. It was cheap. And I could go to the beach in Spain for $30, round trip ticket. Like it was, life was manageable. Right? Traveling for me is something I do to make life manageable and to keep my cost of living low so that I can enjoy my life. I don't want a mortgage. That's a contract of death. What if I want to live in Portugal next summer? I need that. So writing helps you realize that there's a lot that you can do that you're not doing. That's why the classes are important. That's why people buy 2-year packages with me or the 12-week classes with me. Because it's going to get done. Or you're going to kick that class and I'm going to take your money. No refunds. I create the structures in my coaching. There were the structures that I had in my life that helped me. I went to Dartmouth, the retreat that New York Theater Workshop does every summer. I hated going to that shit. Jim Nicola was like, you need to come. Work on your play. I was like, I hate going to this shit. But you know what? I knew I was going to be sitting in a dorm room with a fan for 7 hours a day. And then sharing pages at night. So I got my ass to that Dartmouth retreat and took a week off from work and ate popcorn. Like, if you can't do it on your own, find a way to get somebody to help you do it. That's why you're here, right? Okay, so you go to YouTube and watch every single one of my videos. There's a whole lot of shit you could be doing. A whole lot. Go to my Facebook page. Tons of videos. Do this exercise. Do that exercise. Go over there. Do that. I have tons of online classes that have small payment plans. Ask me. Right? Get a writing partner that will force you to generate pages, which is something that I do in my 12-week classes. You're partnered with another writer. So you meet with me once a week, but then you meet with the writer, your partner, and y'all share and give each other feedback on, is this clear, is this not clear? So you got to show up to that session. Right? You create structures in your life that allow you to do one small thing each day. And if you do the journaling is where you create those lists of things. So I want you to finish this story about what would your life look like if you didn't have all these isms, and then make a list of all the things that you could do right now, today, in 10 minutes that can get you closer to that life. That's what you're going to finish, and you're going to send it to me, or you're going to mail it to yourself, or you can type it up and put it in a self-addressed stamped envelope and mail it to me, and a year from now I'll mail it back to you. I do that at all my writers' retreats and all my learned long-term clients. I was like, remember what you said? I don't even open it. I just get your self-addressed envelope and your letter, and I put it in that, and I send it back in a year. That's why people pay me the big bucks. I'm all about push the bullshit out of the way, get super, super selfish, and go after what you want 150%. And I had a coach. I had a therapist, a psychiatrist, and a coach who pushed me out the window and was like, why are you working for other people? Why are you going on that set and letting those white men talk to you like that? And they come in here looking like this. And I was like, no, I'm not coming to the door in my underwear and a ripped bra because I'm an unfit black mother. Like, and my coach was like, you're afraid to do what you want to do. Well, I'm going to give you some mini goals that are going to help you. So send me a business proposal of what it would look like, what your life would look like. And this very exercise that I have you guys doing, what do you want your life to look like? I was like, I want to travel the world and have men that look like Jesus Christ serve me tea in blue robes in the Sahara Desert and wear Burberry jewelry. And I wrote about that. And I wrote about that. And I wrote about that. A year later, I got a job offer to teach storytelling in Switzerland. And there was a special on tickets from Switzerland to Morocco for $122. Guess how I ended up in Morocco? I'd already bought the ticket though. Like, I was like, I'm going to Morocco. So I used the return ticket. You have to write it. And you have to get the courage to push things out of the way. Journaling does that. It puts you in the habit of putting yourself first. It's great, 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 great stuff. I love the word capitalism. So I want to talk about the classes that I'm offering up. And the structure is one that I haven't done before. But a couple of my clients were like, I'm broke. Can you do something different? So usually I coach 1-to-1. People have 1 year, 2 year packages where they have a goal that they want to reach, and we get there. Otherwise, I do um, 12-week classes, which people were like, oh my God, I'm not ready yet. That's so much. So, what I've decided to do is Saturday writing classes. And each Saturday will be a different theme. All right. Now, all the people who's telling me they can't do it, I want you to listen to somebody right quick. And you can go to thedreamunlocked.com. I'll send you the link. This is for all my, I don't have time. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. It's so hard. Okay, where's chat? All right. My client, Ann Perry Wallace, has 3 children, 2 of which are special needs. She has a full-time job, 2 special needs kids, and she has to walk through all of their homework and their schedule and manage them. She finished her solo show. She did all her research on Zora Neale Hurston, and she finished the show in the 12-week class. And she had some of the most interesting ideas about how we get in our own way and how to get out of it. So I want to share this with you guys. I really admire
My name is
Ann.
Ann Perry Wallace. I'm a writer and an actor, and several years ago I had taken some time away from writing and acting to raise my children. They are 9, 15, and 16. And a few years ago, started to dip my toe back into the water to see what writing would feel like for me and acting would feel like for me. And I was coming back into the business with a lot of trepidation. My age, my weight, my ability. I don't have a degree in writing. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm not up to date with what is acceptable. And so a lot of self-esteem and confidence issues. So that when I met April, I think that, I came with a lot of fears. And she has this wonderful brand of tough love that is perfect for a grown woman. It's because she sees something in you and she's not going to babysit you, but she's going to help pull it out of you. And her dreaming out loud technique for writers has been a godsend because it allowed me to get out of my way. It allowed me to feel empowered. It allowed me to realize that I have value. I do have a voice and I do have something to say. In July, I will have the first run of my one-woman play. And due to, in large part, April's help and her expertise. You see, she has years of experience, years of credits that she brings to the table to help you bring out what's really already there, but it needs refining, it needs direction. Some of my most intriguing and delightful and funny pieces came as a result of working with April, and I would not have those in my play if it were not for her. And so I have, as a result of working with her, really grown as a writer, as someone who's just empowered to create her own work. I'm not sitting around waiting for somebody, please call me, please call me. And I'm in a market where I'm not getting many phone calls. And so it's really been empowering to produce my own work and get out there and know that I have value. And that is something that is going to happen in the Dreaming Out Loud class for writers. I encourage you to invest in yourself. And as a wife and a mother of three, and two of the children have special needs, we have a lot that we have to take care of. But at a certain point, I said to myself, you gotta invest in yourself. You're doing your children a favor by investing in yourself and becoming who you're supposed to be as a writer. And I've discovered I definitely have a voice. That was in April's class. I definitely have something that I can offer, and that I don't have to wait on the phone to ring. I can create my own work, and that is simply because I invested in myself with April's class, and it is something that I definitely recommend that you do for yourself. Give yourself a shot. Get empowered. Create your own work. Get some technique and some skill, and get mentally prepared. All of that can happen in April's class. I'm so grateful.
I just love her so much. I just love Anne so much. Okay, she had her kids bring her tea while she was in class when somebody was coaching somebody else with the homework, and she would be like, "I'm gonna have to leave early, but here's 4 pages. I'm gonna come back at the end to get my notes." Okay, she was like, "This is going to happen by hook or by crook." And when you see her little girls helping her do it, you're done. You're done. Making banners and handing out postcards for a mommy show in front of the theater. I'm like, I'm done. You're done. You're like, okay, look. Look. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about these classes and I want to answer your questions. So if you see something, tell me what's interesting. Every first Saturday, I'll be doing this through the summer. So the first Saturdays of each month, I'll be doing how to turn journaling into story. So we'll be pulling characters from your journaling, and we'll be pulling events. And we'll be telling those stories from different characters' point of view and creating scenes. So this is really about taking ideas from the journal, slips of paper, and turning them into story, beginning, middle, and end, a protagonist, a conflict, and how the protagonist is changed by the end of the scene. And that's how plays, screenplays, novels are written, scene by scene by scene by scene. How to write a solo show is for folks who have a lot of ideas and a list of stories, or have the stories written down but they're very rough and you want to put them in a structure, and you want to do, it's a focus on how you put first person storytelling on its feet in both the writing and in the writing structure, right? Is the show going to be a series of monologues? Is it going to be scenes and monologues? Is it going to be one continuous story? Is it going to be monologues of different characters, and what unifies them? Okay. The other class, which will be on the third Saturday, is Unstuck: how to write to heal and transform your life. So that's a little bit about what we talked about today. All those things that you say you're going to do, why are you not doing them? By the end of this class, you should have a plan for getting it done. We unpack all the stuff that's in the way and then create a plan to get you unstuck. Things that are actionable and completely within your power. Script analysis for actors and writers, the fourth Saturday of each month, is really, we're going to look at TV shows. We're going to watch episodes. I recently gave a client an assignment. So Umbrella Academy, the oldest sister is black. It's sci-fi. They jump back and forth in time. And every time the family jumps back and forth in time, they all end up in different places. Well, of course, if the family jumps in time and they end up in the 1960s, the one black sister is going to be fucked right up. And that's exactly what happened. Like the family gets dropped into time, and that's all great for the white people. But Diego and the sister Allison, Diego's Mexican, Allison's black. 1960s Dallas is no place to be. So their stories go off in a very dramatic, high stakes way, while the rest of the characters are having these kind of sci fi, funny, oh, we just did a genocide of the whole world. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Like their journeys were very tongue in cheek, but the characters of color, under the same given circumstances, stakes are much higher. And instead of the script deciding to choose one tone or another, it tried to keep two tones going at the same time. So the characters of color are having these deeply traumatic things happening to them, you know, getting ketchup and stuff poured on them and punched by the police and sit-ins, are sitting in a room with white characters, you know, singing songs about being a flower child. The writer tried to keep both tones going. And so my assignment for my client was, when did the tone go off? Tell me everything you know about this character. Tell me everything that doesn't fit in this storyline, or how this storyline diverges into another tone. And then the shows, when they try to bring them back together, the characters are having serious dramatic trauma, seem like assholes. Whereas the peace and love white characters who didn't have any real high stakes relationships or problems are like, why are you being so hard on me? So structurally, it's very problematic in the script. It doesn't kind of work, and it also kind of makes the characters who are doing some kick-ass acting demonized. That's the kind of stuff we'll be looking at in the script analysis for actors and writers, to know what you're doing. We'll be analyzing stuff, and I can tell you right now, we're going to watch some Bridgerton this season, because the two leads are really working through a script in a magnificent way, in spite of the writing repeating the same beat over and over and over again. So the characters are actually learning faster, learning more about themselves, the fact that they're falling in love, and that they're getting in their own way, and they're being contrary, and are attached to their freedom and attached to their opinions. And the writing doesn't allow that relationship to unfold. The writing keeps going back to the same moment in time where they realize they like each other, instead of the actors realizing, okay, we really like each other. Okay, now let's fight against that. And this is how I'm going to fight with my stuff. Okay, and now, oh, I'm going to use my family as an excuse. And now, so the actors, you could see them in the script moving through learning something new, but the writers were not. That kind of script analysis, and what you do as an actor and what you do as a writer when you realize that's what's happening in a script. So those are the 4 classes I'm going to be teaching for the summer. There'll be 3 hours on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. my time. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they're $199 each. Can't say I didn't help you. Because usually my 12-week class is $2,800. So this is a one-time deal this summer. 1 class is $199, 2 classes $388, 3 classes $577. First 4 people to purchase the class, you get a discovery session with me, one-on-one, where we map out your plan for moving all your bullshit out the way and fucking finishing. So if you click the link, it'll drop down and it'll tell you, which class you want. Pick it, go. Questions, thoughts, comments, fears, anxiety.
Of course, I'm now going to go watch Bridgerton.
Which class sounds interesting and why?
I always think, hey, it's Iris. I always think, of course, solo sounds interesting, but I don't think I'm there yet. I think the journaling part, I don't know. Am I talking crap? Yeah. Like, I like the fact of creating a solo show. It's just, I have probably not done enough journaling to explore ideas. Does that sound good?
Yes, it's good that you know that. So that class would be intensive journaling, and then how to turn those things that you journal about into story, a structure.
And one thing I wanted to ask, it seems like I know the assignments that you gave us. It just seems when I start writing, I just go off and start writing about like things come up. And I'm like, oh, but that's not staying to what you told me to write about. And I guess that's an issue for me. Yeah, there are two
No,
things that always come up. And I'm
that's
like,
classic. So the answer to that is, what am I going to say? Anybody?
hmm,
Go back to the assignment.
Write every day,
mhm,
longhand, free form. Don't miss a day. Give yourself a goal of 3 pages
mhm.
and get in a class that makes you do that.
Like and the journaling class would be the best one for that.
Yep.
Okay, but you're only doing it one Saturday for the
I will
summer.
be doing, in the summer, I'll be doing 2 Saturdays. When we have July, I'll be doing, I might be doing, what, we're moving into third and fourth. So I'll be doing one in August. And it depends on how much interest I get. If people want, when we finish that class, if people want to do it again, we'll do it again. But this is a way for folks to get their feet wet. And 12-week classes scare people. All my long-term clients now started in 12-week classes. But they fell down a lot. They were like, it's a lot of work. And I would say, it's called writing. You should do it every day, 3 pages longhand. The rest will sort itself out. 3 pages longhand.
So when people come into the solo class, do they usually have a lot of pages written?
They either have a lot of pages written, or they know how to edit the story ideas they have very fast.
Okay.
So I would say how to turn journaling into story is the first class you should take, and then go into how to write a solo show. Giles? Any other questions?
Yes. What if you started a solo show and you need some help? It's like, oh, I'm stuck.
Do you have a first draft?
A completed first draft? No.
Okay. If you don't have a completed first draft, take one of these classes.
Got it.
Say how to write a solo show. You already have, you bought the online class, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of information in there to give you the basics. You should be able to generate at least a rough draft in preparation for the how to write a solo show,
Okay.
or I will make you. And then probably a 12-week class where you come in and you read sections each week.
Okay.
But if you're paying me, you are going to send me pages. Like any of these classes, I'm going to have an assignment for you before class starts, and you're going to send me that assignment. And that's what we're going to work on in class. Stop playing. Y'all know I don't play, right? A lot of people don't know that.
Well, that's why I'm here.
I
I want to get stuff done.
Did you say what the start date of the other classes are going to be? Are we starting like this Saturday?
I could start this Saturday if you want me to. Yes, I could do that. I'm looking at my calendar on my Apple Watch. Yeah, I could do that for you. I could do that for you. Yeah. I just have to send the notice out to all these other people. Oh, by the way, we're starting this Saturday, and they'll be like, "Wait, what?" Oh, you just got to dig in and do it. What is this Saturday? Third Saturday?
This Saturday is the second Saturday.
Oh shit! It's on.
Because I do want to do the how to write a solo show, but didn't you say that all I have is ideas? I have
No,
not
it's
actually written
the
the
third
solo
Saturday.
show.
I think it's the third Saturday. This
No,
Saturday.
because is it the
16th.
third? Okay,
Yeah,
no, you're right. It's the
check
third.
it, 9th,
Yeah.
16th.
There are 5 Saturdays in July.
You're right. Yeah.
Pick the class you want. You buy the class. We'll schedule a second one.
Okay.
I have a question.
Because I allow my long-term clients to join in these one-off classes. So we're always working on something. Yes, Miss Marie.
So I feel that I need to do a memoir that could probably also be a solo show. What would you, of these 4 classes, probably not script analysis, so of these 3 classes, what would you suggest as a starting point?
Turn journaling into story. And
Okay.
if you have a bunch of stories, you'll know what the form is. If you have just a whole bunch of stories, you'll know what the form is.
Is that really how memoirs are written? Your stories and then you sort of like put them together, or it varies?
Most people, it really varies. I mean, I just started telling stories and transcribing them really rough. And then when I got to 500 pages, I put it all in a binder and I organized them with little dividers by subject. My cousin Erica and the horse. Mrs. Green, racist teacher, first grade. Like, you know, and then once I had that raw material, I went in and I looked at them. Some of them were ready to go. Some needed to be rewritten, retold. I discovered in that 500 pages that I had about 3 different projects. So then I would just choose one project to focus on. Right? The loss of the breaking, disintegration of the family after the crack epidemic. That was the focus. But I had to tell a lot of stories to know which one I wanted to tell first. Especially with memoir. Because what happens with memoir is that you have to frame the story in order to make it compelling. So Eat, Pray, Love is a memoir of, oh, midlife crisis, my marriage fell apart, I'm traveling the world. Midlife crisis is the theme that pulls that travel log together. Right? It's like each story has its own log line. So you have to have the unifying idea in memoir in particular. And usually I just start by telling stories. I have my clients tell story and send me stories. And then we edit and retell and restructure and rewrite and we edit. Anybody else? All right then. Y'all got an email last night with the video. It's a link to this page, or you can just go to the Dream Unlocked. I will keep the sale up for a week. Then y'all on your own. I can't help you. You have to buy the 12-week class. And I have to let my cat out of timeout because she's been quiet for like 10 minutes. Any other questions?
I didn't get the email. I just checked.
Yesterday?
I just checked just now. I didn't see it.
No, it was yesterday. I sent out an email yesterday afternoon. You didn't get an email yesterday afternoon? God damn it, Marie Tree.
It's always me. I know. Well, you know, I have these issues with electric